Life feels heavy sometimes, and if you're feeling that weight right now, you're not alone. There are moments when everything just seems to press down on you. Responsibilities, grief, confusion, fear. There are mornings when opening your eyes feels like the hardest task of the day, and getting out of bed feels like you're dragging the weight of the world with you. Sometimes the pain is clear, like loss or betrayal. Other times, it's just an ache in your chest you can't explain. The prayers you whisper feel like they float into empty space, and the silence that follows can be deafening. You wonder if God is listening. You wonder if He sees you. You wonder if you're even allowed to feel this broken and still call yourself faithful. But here's the truth that cuts through the noise. Jesus never promised that life would be easy. What He promised was that He would be with us, that He would not leave us comfortless, that His words would be a lifeline, not just pretty sentences we memorize, but living truth that carries us through the storms. When life is hardest, when your heart is raw and your strength is gone, that's exactly when His words become more than words. They become breath, light in the darkness, a whisper of hope in the roar of confusion. You don't have to have it all together. You don't have to pretend you're okay. You just have to remember what He said, because what He said is still true. And what He said, He meant for you. Fear is something we all feel. It creeps in when the future is unclear, when something we love is threatened, or when we simply don't know what to do next. And when fear takes root, it grows fast into anxiety, into doubt, into sleepless nights and restless days. But fear, while deeply human, doesn't have to be in control. It doesn't have to be the loudest voice in the room, because over the sound of the wind and the waves, there is another voice. A voice that spoke to frightened disciples in the middle of a storm. A voice that speaks to us now, in the middle of ours. Jesus said, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me." He wasn't offering a cliche. He wasn't asking us to pretend everything is fine. He was giving us a place to rest, a reason to breathe. His words aren't a denial of fear. They're a refuge from it. He doesn't come to shame us for being afraid. He knows fear. He felt it in the garden when He prayed with tears. But He also overcame it. And He offers us the same power, not to remove every storm, but to speak peace into the storm itself. Letting His peace anchor us doesn't mean we never feel shaken. It means that when everything feels unstable, when we're overwhelmed, we choose to return to His voice, to hold onto what He said, even when we can't see what's ahead. Fear may still knock at the door, but it doesn't get to come in and stay. Not when the one who calms the wind and the waves is still speaking. Not when His words still echo through the storm. Do not be afraid. I am with you. You don't have to carry it all by yourself. That weight you're holding, the pressure to keep going, the constant fight to appear strong, the exhaustion that doesn't seem to go away, it was never meant to rest on your shoulders alone. Life is heavy, and some days feel like you're dragging a burden no one else could see. But in the middle of that weight, Jesus speaks, not with judgment, not with demands, but with an invitation. He said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." He didn't say, "Come to me once you've figured it out." He didn't say, "Come after you've pulled yourself together." He simply said, "Come, just as you are, weary, confused, empty, even broken. You don't need to hide your tears or filter your prayers." Jesus welcomes the real you, the tired you, the discouraged you, the you that doesn't know what tomorrow holds. His rest is not a nap or an escape. It's not pretending things are fine when they're not. His rest is the deep, soul-level peace that comes from knowing you are held. It's the comfort of laying down your burdens in hands that won't drop them. It's the freedom of not having to perform or earn your worth. To bring your exhaustion, your heartbreak, your silent questions, and lay them at His feet. That's where healing begins. Not by striving harder, but by surrendering. Not by having the answers, but by trusting the one who does. So if you're tired, really tired, don't wait. Don't carry it another step alone. He's already waiting. He's already spoken, and His invitation still stands. Come to me. Loneliness in hard times can feel unbearable. When you're walking through pain and no one seems to understand, When the phone is silent and the room feels colder than usual, it can seem like you've been forgotten. Even in a crowded world, suffering has a way of isolating us. We look around and wonder, where is everyone? And in the silence, a deeper question echoes, where is God? But into that quiet, Jesus speaks a promise that has never been broken. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Not sometimes, not only when you feel Him, not only when you're strong or worshiping or doing everything right. Always. That means even when your prayers feel dry, even when your faith feels weak, even when the tears won't stop and no one notices. He notices. He stays. His presence isn't limited to sacred buildings or perfect moments. His presence shows up in hospital rooms, in empty apartments, in sleepless nights, and in long drives where you whisper, God, are you still there? And the answer is always yes. Yes, He's still there. Yes, He still sees. His presence may not always come with a feeling, but it always comes with a promise. And that promise is unshakable. He walks beside you in the darkest valley. He sits with you when no one else shows up. He stands with you when life breaks your heart. You may feel alone, but you are never abandoned. His presence doesn't remove every pain, but transforms how we face it. Because when all else goes quiet, He is still speaking, He is still near, and He is still with you. Always. The world tells us that peace comes when everything is finally in place. When the bills are paid, the diagnosis is good, the relationship is fixed, the future is certain. But that kind of peace is fragile. It rises and falls with circumstances. It disappears the moment life takes a turn, and we're left chasing it all over again. Jesus offers something different, something deeper, something unshakable. He said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives." This peace isn't a temporary relief or a shallow distraction. It's not about escaping reality. It's about being anchored in it. It's the peace that held Jesus steady as He faced the cross. The kind of peace that doesn't come from understanding everything, but from trusting the one who does. This peace doesn't deny the storm. It lives within it. It's a calm that says, even here, even now, I am held. When everything around you is uncertain, when nothing feels safe, His peace shows up not as a feeling, but as a presence. A quiet knowing that you're not alone, that you're not forgotten, that even in the chaos, God is still God. His peace is strong enough to hold you together when life is falling apart. And the best part? It's a gift. Not something you earn, not something you have to deserve, just something you receive. Freely, fully, right now. So when your soul is restless, when your heart is racing, remember this. The peace Jesus gives is not like the world's peace. It doesn't break under pressure. It doesn't fade in the dark. It stays. It strengthens. It surrounds. It's His peace. And it's yours. Jesus never promised us a life without pain. In fact, He was remarkably honest about it. He didn't sugarcoat the road ahead or pretend that faith would shield us from every hardship. Instead, He looked into the eyes of His disciples, people He loved, and said plainly, "In this world you will have trouble. Not might, not if. You will." Those words land heavy, but they're also full of truth. And sometimes, truth is the most comforting thing we can hear, especially when life doesn't make sense. Because when we're hurting, when everything is falling apart, we start to wonder if we've done something wrong. If our faith is too weak. If God is somehow distant because things aren't easy. But Jesus reminds us, hardship is not a sign of failure. It's part of the path. Trouble is woven into the world we live in. But the story doesn't end there. He follows that hard truth with a greater one. But take heart. I have overcome the world. That's the power of His honesty. He doesn't just acknowledge our pain. He places it inside a bigger promise. He's already overcome what we're still struggling through. The weight you're carrying? He's felt it. The fear you're facing? He stood in it. The wounds you hide? He bears them too. And He overcame, not so we would never suffer, but so that suffering would never have the final word. So when you're in the middle of your own trouble, take heart. Not because it's easy, not because everything is okay, but because He is. and he has overcome what you're still walking through. That victory is already won. And even in the middle of your battle, you are not losing. You are being led. Grief has a way of making the world feel smaller, quieter, and unbearably heavy. When we mourn, whether the loss is fresh or a silent ache we've carried for years, it can feel like everything stops while the rest of the world keeps moving on. People may not understand. Some may offer quick fixes or try to rush us through the pain. But Jesus doesn't do that. He never turned his face away from human sorrow. He never dismissed the tears of those around him. Instead, he said something radically tender. "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." Those words don't come from a distance. They come from a Savior who wept at a graveside, who grieved over the suffering of others, who looked at broken hearts and didn't just acknowledge them. He blessed them. In a world that often hides from sorrow, Jesus calls it sacred. He doesn't shame our sadness or rush us to be okay. He meets us right there, in the quiet, in the heartbreak, in the questions that have no easy answers. When he says, "Blessed are those who mourn," he's not saying pain is good. He's saying that even in pain, we are not alone. We are seen. We are held. Our tears matter to him. Our sorrow is not wasted. And the promise he gives is more than sympathy. It's comfort. Not the kind that erases grief, but the kind that walks with us through it. The kind that says, "You don't have to carry this alone. I'm here, and I will comfort you." So if you're mourning, no matter how long it's been, know this: Jesus sees you. He honors your tears, and he's not afraid of your sorrow. His comfort is real, and it's for you. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. That is his promise. That is his heart. Some seasons of life are painful not just because of what happens to us, but because of what's being shaped within us. Growth hurts, obedience costs, and following Jesus, truly following him, sometimes asks more of us than we think we can give. Jesus never hid that reality. He said it plainly: "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." These aren't easy words. They're weighty, they're costly, and yet they're filled with courage and purpose. Taking up your cross isn't about chasing pain or suffering just to prove your faith. It's not about punishing yourself or living in constant self-denial for its own sake. It's about surrender. It's about choosing to walk in obedience even when it's hard. It's the decision to say yes to God when everything in you wants to say no. It's trusting him enough to lay down your comfort, your pride, your fear, day after day, even when your heart is already tired and tender. And yes, it's especially hard when you're already broken, when you're already grieving, when you feel like you have nothing left to give. But that's exactly where the strength of Jesus meets you. The cross you carry is not a sign of failure or weakness. It's a sign of following, of being willing to walk the same road he walked. And you never walk it alone. His grace doesn't just forgive, it empowers. His Spirit doesn't just comfort, it strengthens. In daily life, that cross might look like forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it, choosing integrity when no one is watching, staying faithful when you feel forgotten, speaking truth when it costs you, loving when it's easier to shut down. It's all the small, invisible choices that add up to a life laid down, not in defeat, but in devotion. So when your soul is weary and the call feels too great, remember, Jesus never asks you to carry a cross he hasn't carried first, and he never asks you to do it without him. His strength is made perfect in your weakness, and through every step, every sacrifice, he is shaping you, not into someone who simply survives, but into someone who reflects his courage, his love, and his light. In the middle of chaos, it's easy to feel invisible, like one small life caught in a world that never slows down. Bills pile up, news overwhelms, people pass by, and somewhere along the way, you start to wonder if you matter at all, if anyone truly sees you, not just the face you show to the world, but the ache underneath, the quiet battles, the silent prayers, the heaviness that never fully lifts. You wonder if God sees it, if he sees you. And then Jesus reminds us, so simply, so gently, "Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet not one of them is forgotten by God. You are worth more than many sparrows. Think about that. Sparrows were cheap, overlooked, ordinary, and yet not one falls without the Father noticing. If God is that attentive to something so small, how much more does He care for you? You, with your fears and questions. You, with your unique story and fragile heart. You, whose name is written on His hands. Your value is not based on how well you perform, how strong you appear, or how put together your life looks. It's not erased by pain or shaken by struggle. Your worth is rooted in the heart of a God who made you, who knows every hair on your head, and who calls you His own. When life gets hard, when you feel forgotten, when the enemy whispers that you don't matter, this truth still stands. You are deeply seen, fully known, and infinitely cherished. Jesus doesn't just see the crowd. He sees you. He knows your quiet faithfulness, your unspoken pain, your weary heart. And He never forgets. Not for a second. Your struggle doesn't disqualify you. Your value doesn't shrink in the dark. In fact, it's in those very places of difficulty that His love for you becomes even clearer. You are worth more than many sparrows. Let that truth sink in. Let it steady you. Let it remind you that even now, even here, you matter. More than you know. Even in the midst of unimaginable suffering, nailed to a cross, facing betrayal and cruelty, Jesus spoke words that still echo across the centuries. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. In His agony, He chose forgiveness, not because the pain was easy to bear, but because His heart was bigger than the hurt, because His love was stronger than the hate, because grace, even in the darkest moments, is the most powerful force in the world. When life is cruel, when people wound us deeply, whether through harsh words, broken promises, or betrayal, it's natural to feel anger, resentment, even bitterness. These feelings are real. They're human. But Jesus' example challenges us to hold on to something else, to choose grace, to release the grip of bitterness that can poison our hearts and steal our peace. Holding on to grace doesn't mean forgetting the pain or pretending it never happened. It means allowing God's love to soften the hardest parts of our hearts. It means trusting that forgiveness is not about excusing wrong, but about freeing ourselves from its chains. Jesus shows us that grace is a way through pain, a path that doesn't end in bitterness but in healing, freedom, and peace. When we struggle to forgive, we can remember His words from the cross. His heart open wide, even to those who caused Him suffering. That same grace is available to us. It's messy, it's hard, but it's also transformative. It breaks cycles of hurt and opens the door to restoration. So when life wounds you and the weight of pain feels unbearable, look to Jesus. His forgiveness is a lifeline. His grace is a refuge. And through Him, you can find a way to heal, not by holding on to bitterness, but by choosing love, even in the hardest moments. When Jesus spoke the words, "It is finished," He wasn't announcing defeat. He was declaring victory, an overwhelming, eternal victory that changes everything. Those words mark the completion of a mission far greater than any human struggle, any pain, or any brokenness we face. The cross wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of new life, new hope, and new possibilities. Your pain is not pointless. The struggles you face, the battles you fight in the quiet moments of your heart, are not without purpose. The cross stands as a powerful reminder that suffering is not the final word. Your pain doesn't define you. It doesn't have a last say, because on that cross, Jesus carried every sorrow, every burden, every wound, so that you wouldn't have to carry them alone. And through His death and resurrection, He broke the chains of despair and opened the door to restoration. This victory speaks to us still. It's not a distant event locked away in history. It's a living reality that invites us to step into freedom today. When you feel overwhelmed, remember, the cross is your reminder that redemption is possible, that healing can come, that even in the darkest moments, resurrection is coming. The power of the cross reaches into your suffering and transforms it, turning grief into hope, loss into gain, and death into life. So when life feels heavy and your heart is weary, hold on to this truth. It is finished. The battle has been won. The victory is yours. And nothing, not pain, not struggle, not fear, can ever take that away. When the weight of life feels unbearable and hope seems out of reach, it's easy to believe that pain is all there is. The future looks dark, and the present feels like an endless struggle. But Jesus offers a hope that goes beyond anything this world can give or take away. He didn't come merely to teach or to inspire. He came as life itself. He said, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die." These words reach far beyond a moment in time. They reach into the deepest parts of our souls, into the very core of what it means to hope. This is not just a promise for funerals or distant futures. It's a promise for right now. In the middle of your pain, your fear, your uncertainty, Jesus is saying that life, real, unshakable life, is found in him. That death, suffering, and loss do not have the final word. Hope isn't some wishful thinking or naive optimism. It's a powerful reality that outlives hardship. It holds steady when everything else fades. When you feel crushed by the weight of today, when the tears come and the questions flood your mind, remember this. Jesus is the source of a hope that cannot be destroyed. A hope that says even death is not the end. Even brokenness is not the end. Because in him, life triumphs. Resurrection breaks in. New beginnings are possible. So hold on to this hope. Let it breathe life into your weary soul. Let it carry you through the darkest nights. Because Jesus, the resurrection and the life, is alive, and he offers you a hope that goes beyond today. Life doesn't always get easier in an instant. The battles you face may linger, the struggles may press in hard, and the road ahead may still feel uncertain. But even in the midst of the fight, your soul can find rest. Not because everything has changed outside, but because something has settled within, a deep, quiet assurance rooted in the words of Jesus. His words are not distant echoes from the past. They are alive, breathing truth and hope into your here and now. When the weight of life feels overwhelming, when the questions feel too big and the answers feel too far away, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to understand every pain or fix every broken piece. All you need is to hold on to what he said. His words are the anchor that keeps you steady when storms rage. His love is the lifeline that pulls you up when you're sinking. His presence is the promise that no matter what comes, you are never alone. So breathe in his truth like the very air you need. Let it fill you, sustain you, and carry you through. Because when life is hard, remembering his words isn't just comfort, it's life itself.